If anyone had told me my life would spiral into a courtroom showdown against my own parents, I would have laughed in their face. But life doesn't ask for your approval before throwing a grenade at your chest. It just pulls the pin and watches you scramble. And that's exactly what happened the day I discovered the disgusting truth. My husband, Ethan, had a child with my sister, Betrayal, and my parents expected me to not only swallow that betrayal but financially support the mess they helped create. The whole thing began on a regular Thursday morning, the kind of morning where nothing felt wrong, until everything did. I was in the kitchen, half awake, stirring coffee while scrolling through emails. Ethan was supposedly on a business trip, and Betrayal was visiting a friend out of town. That's what they'd both told me. Funny thing about lies. They always smell strange before you even realize they stink. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut nudged me to answer. Hello. A woman's voice trembled on the other end. Is this Jade Harper? Yes. Who's speaking? I'm calling from Maplewood General Hospital. Are you related to a woman named Betrayal Harper? My heart stalled. Yes, she's my sister. What happened? The woman hesitated. She's in labor. She listed you as an emergency contact. Labor? Labor. I repeated, confused as hell. What do you mean labor? She wasn't even. But the woman had already moved on to instructions. You may want to come as soon as possible. I stood there frozen, gripping the phone so hard my fingers hurt. Betrayal? Pregnant? And she didn't tell me? We were sisters. We grew up sharing clothes, secrets, dreams, and lately arguments, sure. But this? She hid a pregnancy? I didn't even realize I'd grabbed my car keys until I was halfway to the driveway, adrenaline detonating inside me. I sped to the hospital, barely remembering to park straight. I rushed through the halls like a possessed woman until a nurse pointed me to the maternity ward. And that's when my first real punch to the soul landed. Because standing outside Betrayal's room was Ethan, my husband, looking nervous, sweaty, guilty as sin. What are you doing here? I demanded. He froze like a kid caught stealing candy. Jade, I can explain. But the universe apparently felt that wasn't dramatic enough, because at that exact moment, a newborn's cry echoed from the room, slicing straight through whatever was left of my sanity. A nurse stepped out and smiled politely. Are you the father? Ethan's face drained.
Mine twisted.
I stared at him. Father. And that's when everything shattered. The nurse looked between us, confused. She said her partner is outside. Ethan didn't answer, and he didn't need to. His silence confirmed every nightmare I never imagined having. My sister had just given birth to my husband's baby. I walked away. I didn't scream. I didn't hit him. I didn't collapse. I just walked away because if I opened my mouth, I was going to burn the entire hospital to ash. He followed me. Jade, please listen. Don't talk to me. My voice was cold, foreign even to myself. Don't say another damn word. But my calm didn't last, because as I stormed toward the elevator, I collided with someone, my mother. Oh, thank God you're here, she huffed dramatically. Betrayal needs us. She's been so stressed carrying this baby. I blinked at her in disbelief. You knew. She didn't even flinch. Of course we knew. I felt the world tilt. You knew she was pregnant with my husband's child and you said nothing? My mother sighed like I was being dramatic. Sweetheart, things happen. People make mistakes. You and Ethan were already having problems. What problems? I spat. The problems you fabricated so she could slide into my marriage? Lower your voice, she snapped. This is not about your feelings right now. Betrayal is a new mother. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Then she added the line that made my blood combust. And since Ethan is still legally your husband, the baby is legally your responsibility too. We'll discuss support when things calm down. I swear. Something in me died right there. You're insane, I whispered. But turns out insanity had only just begun. Several days passed as I tried to untangle myself from the disaster my life had become. I refused to speak to Ethan. He tried to come home, but I changed the locks and told him through the door that if he didn't leave, I'd have him removed for trespassing. I meant it. I blocked Betrayal, blocked my parents. Anyone with the last name Harper became irrelevant to me. But the hits kept coming. One afternoon, I got a letter from Child Services. Petition for child support, filed by Betrayal Harper and parents of both parties. They were demanding financial support for the baby, as if I owed them anything, as if I had any obligation to raise a child I didn't create. My rage returned tenfold. I called my mother, ready to unleash hell. She answered on the second ring. "You got the papers." "Yes, I got the damn papers," I growled. "Are you out of your—" "Jade," she interrupted. "Stop being dramatic. Families support each other. Betrayal is struggling. You have a stable job. You can contribute something while she gets on her feet. Why isn't Ethan paying?" I shot back. "The baby's father. He's going through enough already," she snapped. "You need to be compassionate. He made a mistake." "A mistake?" I almost laughed. "He cheated on me with my sister." "Not everything is about you, Jade," she said calmly. "Think of the baby. The baby is not my responsibility." "Well," she said sharply, "that's for the court to decide." And she hung up. For the first time in my life, I felt no connection to the people who raised me. No love. No guilt. Just disgust. They'd chosen Betrayal. They'd chosen Ethan. They'd chosen everything destructive and expected me to fund it. So I hired a lawyer. Her name was Cara Levin, a tiny woman with the energy of a nuclear bomb. She listened patiently as I explained everything. The betrayal, the baby, the parents, the court filing. Then she leaned back and said, "They don't have a case unless you let them have one." Meaning they're banking on your silence, on your shame, on you trying to deal with this quietly while they manipulate the narrative. If you fight, they lose. That was the moment I realized something important. I wasn't the victim. I was the problem they didn't expect. Court day arrived like a storm. I walked in wearing a black fitted suit, heels that clicked with authority, and a face carved out of steel. Ethan sat on one side with my parents and Betrayal, who held the baby like she was holding a trophy she'd earned by cheating. I didn't look at any of them. My mother whispered something to Ethan, probably reassuring him I'd come around. Pathetic. The judge took his seat and reviewed the paperwork. "So let me get this straight," he said slowly. "You are asking the court to order Mrs. Jade Harper to support a child she did not birth or adopt." My mother stood first, always desperate to control a room. "Your Honor, Jade is married to the father. Legally, that makes her financially responsible." The judge raised a brow. "That law does not apply in cases where paternity is clear and the spouse did not participate in conception or care." "Is the father present?" Ethan stood. The judge nodded. "Why are you not petitioning for support? You are the biological father." Ethan swallowed. I don't have the means." I let out a laugh, short and cutting. "He doesn't have the means but booked 2 vacations with my sister, paid for hotels, and bought her a $900 stroller." My parents glared at me. The judge gave Ethan a hard look. "Is that true?" Ethan hesitated. "I borrowed money." "No," I said loudly. "He used my money, our joint account, without my consent." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Cara leaned in. "Good. Let them choke on the truth." Betrayal suddenly burst into tears. Loud, theatrical sobs. "She's trying to ruin my life." The judge sighed. "Miss Harper, this courtroom is not the place for emotional manipulation. Sit down." My mother stood next. "Your Honor, Jade has always been dramatic. She exaggerates. She is only doing this because she is angry." I snapped. "No, I'm doing this because you all think I'm stupid." I stood, voice steady. "You think you can betray me, humiliate me, and then demand money? For a child created by the 2 people who destroyed my marriage? Absolutely not. I will not support this baby. I will not carry the financial consequences of your choices." The judge studied me. "Mrs. Harper, do you wish to file for divorce?" I nodded. "Immediately." Ethan's face crumpled. Good. And I added, I want a restraining order. Against all three of them. I want them out of my life. Brielle gasped. You can't do that. You'd be surprised what I can do, I said.
Cara Esmirquez.
And what she legally has the right to do. The judge shuffled some papers. Given the circumstances, I am inclined to deny the child support petition. The biological parents are responsible. Mrs. Harper has no obligation to pay. My parents looked crushed. Ethan looked like he might faint. Brielle looked like someone kicked her dreams off a cliff. The judge continued, furthermore, based on evidence of manipulation and emotional harm, I am approving the temporary restraining order pending the final divorce hearing. That was it. Case closed. I won. But the real victory wasn't the judge's words. It was watching the shock ripple across the faces of the people who thought they owned me, who thought I'd quietly suffer to keep the family peace, who thought my heart would break so much I'd bend. But I wasn't bending. I was becoming someone they could never control again. When the hearing ended, I walked past them without a glance. Ethan tried to step forward. Jade, please. Cara held up a hand. My client has nothing to say to you. And I didn't. Not then. Not ever again. But what happened after the court? The consequences, the fallout, the truth bombs I would drop that would turn the entire family upside down. That was still coming. And when it came, nobody was ready. The moment I stepped out of that courtroom, the air felt different. Sharper, clearer. Almost like someone had finally turned on the lights in a room I'd been stumbling through for years. Cara walked beside me, her heels clicking across the marble floor like small victory drums. You handled yourself better than most, she said. You didn't crack once. I've been cracking for months, I admitted. I'm just done cracking quietly. She gave me a knowing nod. And that's exactly why you won. But the universe wasn't done testing me. Not even close. I had barely reached the parking lot when I heard rapid footsteps. Not Cara's. Not anyone friendly. My father. Jade. Wait. I didn't stop. Didn't slow. Didn't acknowledge. Jade. He called again, louder this time. Your mother and sister are distraught. We need to talk. I spun on my heel so fast he froze mid-stride. Talk, I repeated. Now you want to talk? He sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. You embarrassed us in there. I laughed. A short, humorless sound. You embarrassed yourselves. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're overreacting. Family supports family. No, I corrected. Family doesn't sleep with your spouse and then beg for child support. His jaw tightened. Brielle made a mistake. Stop calling it a mistake, I snapped. A mistake is forgetting to do laundry. A mistake is burning dinner. Cheating with my husband for months is not a mistake. It's a choice. And you all chose it with her. He stiffened. Watch your tone. No, I said calmly. Watch yours. You're talking to a woman whose entire life you tried to sabotage because you couldn't admit your golden child was wrong. He opened his mouth, but I wasn't finished. You and Mom enabled her. You covered for her. You guilt-tripped me. You lied to me. And now you want me to pay for the baby she made with my husband? Absolutely not. He clenched his fists. You're being cruel. Cruel, I repeated. You want cruel? Cruel was you telling the judge I exaggerated. Cruel was Mom saying I needed to be compassionate, while my entire marriage blew up. Cruel was Brielle crying like a victim after she stabbed me in the back. His face turned red. She's your sister. Not anymore. He looked stunned, like I'd slapped him. I didn't wait for him to say another word. I turned, walked to my car, and drove away without looking back. But the aftermath was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up to an explosion of notifications. 30 missed calls, 47 messages, a family group chat meltdown, and then the cherry on top, a Facebook post from my mother titled, "Pray for Brielle and her baby," the kind of post designed to weaponize sympathy. She wrote, "My youngest daughter is struggling with a newborn while her sister refuses to help. Please pray for us during this heartbreaking time." The comments were a circus. People I barely knew calling me selfish. Old family friends asking what was wrong with me. A cousin I hadn't seen in 10 years tagging me and saying, "Be better, Jade." The audacity. I screenshotted the post and sent it to Kara. Within minutes she replied, "Do not respond publicly. We will handle this legally." Fine by me. But public drama? That was my family's love language. An hour later, Brielle posted a crying selfie. Swollen eyes, strategically messy hair, and captioned it, "Being a single mom is so hard. Some people turn their backs on you when you need them the most." And the crowd went wild. People poured sympathy like rain. "You're strong, Mama. Forget those who don't support you. Your sister is heartless." I wanted to scream. Not because their comments hurt, they didn't, but because the manipulation was so damn obvious. And then Ethan jumped in. He commented, "You're not alone. I'm here for you and our son." Our son. The words felt like a shard of glass. Not because I wanted him. Hell no. Because he was still married to me legally, and he was parading around social media like he was some devoted father of the year. But then something interesting happened. Someone commented under Ethan's post, "Weren't you cheating on your wife the whole time? Maybe grow up." Then another, "You both betrayed Jade. Why should she help?" And then dozens more. People weren't buying their saint routine. Brielle turned off comments. Ethan turned defensive. My mother posted a Bible verse about forgiveness, which was hilarious coming from someone who never forgave me for accidentally dropping her crystal bowl 10 years ago. But despite the chaos, something inside me settled. The truth always leaks, no matter how much people try to twist it. 2 days later, I got a call from Ethan. I almost declined it, but then curiosity won. "What do you want?" I answered flatly. He exhaled shakily. "We need to talk." "No, we don't. Jade, please. I'm losing everything. My job put me on leave. My parents are furious. Brielle won't stop crying. I don't know what to do." I let silence stretch. "Good," I finally said. He choked. "Good?"
I'm suffering.
"Yes," I replied. "Consequences usually feel like suffering." "I didn't mean to hurt you." I laughed. "You didn't accidentally fall into my sister repeatedly, Ethan." He flinched. I heard it in the way his breath hitched. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Please don't divorce me." I froze. "Excuse me? I'll fix everything. I'll stop seeing Brielle. And that's when clarity hit me like a lightning strike. He didn't regret cheating. He regretted losing his safety net. I ended the call with one sentence. "You didn't lose me. You threw me away. Own it." Then I hung up. He called again. I blocked him. End of story. Except it wasn't the end. Later that evening, Kara called. "Be prepared," she said. "Your family is meeting with their attorney to challenge your restraining order." "They're still coming after me?" I asked. "They're desperate," she explained. "They lost in court, lost the public narrative, lost their leverage. People like that don't stop. They escalate." I sighed. Let them try. But what I didn't know was that their next move would be their biggest mistake yet. 3 days later, I walked into my office at the small marketing firm where I worked. My assistant rushed to my side. "You need to see this," she whispered urgently. "Like, now." She handed me a printed email. My stomach dropped as I read it. Complaint. Filed anonymously. Against me. Sent to HR. Claiming I was emotionally unstable, vindictive, and a danger to workplace harmony. Signed with a name that wasn't actually a name. A concerned family member. I felt the heat rise in my chest. They were trying to get me fired. They actually went that low. My boss called me in immediately. He looked uncomfortable. "Jade, I know this situation is personal, but HR needs to follow procedure. We need to talk." I handed him my lawyer's card. "You can talk to her." He blinked. "Should I be concerned?" "No," I said firmly. "But someone else should be." Kara was furious when she heard. "They're attempting defamation, retaliation, malicious interference with employment. This is no longer a family issue. This is a legal war." and I was ready for war. Really ready. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting emotionally. I wasn't crying or begging or wishing for closure. I was fighting smart, strategic, cold, the way they never expected me to. The next day, my mother showed up outside my apartment building, despite the restraining order. She stood there holding a casserole dish like we were in some twisted sitcom. I walked past her without stopping. "Jade, please," she begged. "We didn't mean for things to go this far. You filed a false complaint to my workplace. That's because you embarrassed us in court." I turned sharply. "You embarrassed yourselves." She tried to grab my arm. I pulled back. "You listen to me," she said. "We are family. Families fight. Families hurt each other sometimes. But at the end of the day, I interrupted. "You chose her. You always chose her. And now I'm choosing me. You're being dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm being done." I walked inside. She yelled after me, "You'll regret this, Jade. One day you'll need us." She was wrong. I needed peace. And that's exactly what I was building. The final blow came 2 weeks later, but not from them. From Brielle's ex-best friend, Eliza. She messaged me late at night. "I don't know if you'll even read this, but I know things about what your family did. And you deserve to know too." That got my attention instantly. We met the next day at a cafe near my office. She seemed anxious, constantly looking around. "Tell me," I said, and she did. Everything. How my mother had encouraged Brielle to go after Ethan before he and I even married. How Brielle had bragged about being the one he really wanted. How my parents had begged her to keep the pregnancy quiet until after the birth, so they could frame it as something that just happened. How they convinced Brielle that I would eventually step up and help raise the baby. I nearly vomited hearing it. "You're lying?" I whispered, though I knew she wasn't. "I'm not," she said. "I stayed quiet because Brielle threatened to ruin my reputation. But seeing what they're doing to you, I can't stay quiet anymore." She slid her phone across the table. Screen recordings, text messages, voice notes, proof of everything.
I sat frozen.
The betrayal was so deep it didn't feel real. My own family had orchestrated my downfall. Not accidentally, intentionally, strategically, cruelly. Eliza reached across the table. "You don't deserve any of this." No, I didn't. And now, they were going to pay for it. The final blow came 2 weeks later, but not from them. From Brielle's ex-best friend, Eliza. She messaged me late at night. "I don't know if you'll even read this, but I know things about what your family did. And you deserve to know too." That got my attention instantly. We met the next day at a cafe near my office. She seemed anxious, constantly looking around. "Tell me," I said, and she did. Everything. How my mother had encouraged Brielle to go after Ethan before he and I even married. How Brielle had bragged about being the one he really wanted. How my parents had begged her to keep the pregnancy quiet until after the birth, so they could frame it as something that just happened. How they convinced Brielle that I would eventually step up and help raise the baby. I nearly vomited hearing it. "You're lying?" I whispered, though I knew she wasn't. "I'm not," she said. "I stayed quiet because Brielle threatened to ruin my reputation. But seeing what they're doing to you, I can't stay quiet anymore." She slid her phone across the table. Screen recordings, text messages, voice notes, proof of everything.
I sat frozen.
The betrayal was so deep it didn't feel real. My own family had orchestrated my downfall. Not accidentally, intentionally, strategically, cruelly. Eliza reached across the table. "You don't deserve any of this." No, I didn't. And now, they were going to pay for it. Kara's eyes widened as she scrolled through the evidence. "This," she said with a grin, "changes everything." "What happens now?" I asked. "We file," she said, "for defamation, harassment, emotional damages, malicious interference, violation of the restraining order, and," she added, "we expose the conspiracy." I exhaled, steady and sure. Good. She leaned back, impressed. Jade, you're handling this like someone reborn. I thought about that for a moment. Reborn. Yeah. That's exactly what it felt like. The lawsuit hit my parents, sister, and Ethan like a bomb. Their lawyer tried to negotiate. Kara didn't budge. They tried to apologize. I didn't respond. They tried to contact mutual relatives. Didn't matter. Because this time, the narrative wasn't theirs. It was mine. And it was backed by evidence they couldn't twist. They tried to cry. They tried to blame each other. They tried to make excuses. But nothing could undo what they'd done. Or what they'd lose now. By the time the second court date arrived, they all looked exhausted. Brielle was pale. My mother was shaking. My father barely made eye contact. Ethan looked like a man watching his own life burn. Good. Because mine had burned too, and I had rebuilt it from ash. The judge reviewed the evidence silently, occasionally raising a brow. When he finally spoke, his voice was sharp. I have rarely seen a case of such collective manipulation. The actions of the defendants show clear intent to harm, deceive, and exploit the plaintiff. My parents exchanged panicked glances. The judge continued, "The restraining order remains in effect. The defamation is undeniable. The workplace interference is malicious. And the emotional harm is profound." He looked directly at them. "You owe Mrs. Harper an apology, but more importantly, you owe her damages." He listed the penalties. Fees, mandatory counseling, compensation, legal restrictions. Their faces crumpled. Mine didn't. I stood strong, silent, unshaken. When it ended, Kara whispered, "You did it." "No," I said softly. "I survived it." And survival, for the first time, felt like victory. As I walked out of the courthouse, the sun warmed my face. No family waiting. No husband behind me. No sister wailing. No mother manipulating. Just me. My peace. My freedom. My future. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't someone's daughter, sister, or wife. I was mine. And the girl who once allowed everyone to control her, she no longer existed. I rebuilt myself. And I wasn't done rising. If you felt every twist of betrayal, every punch of heartbreak, and every moment of rising strength in this story, then stay connected for more powerful, emotional tales like this. Share your thoughts, spread the story, and follow along for the next gripping chapter of courage, survival, and reclaiming your life.